I think the more I learn about culture and its impact on language mediation and on learning and in classroom dynamics, the more I think I don't know. And so I think that's the first thing that I would suggest faculty become comfortable with, is that you will probably, in a classroom that is multicultural and diverse linguistically, not always completely understand what's going on culturally below the surface. So culture is so much more than just the language or the clothing, the food. Most of what is actually culture is happening far, far below the surface. And for everything that I have learned about these interactions between my culture and another student's culture, it's just the tip of the iceberg. There's always so much more to know. So I guess that's the first thing, is just to be really culturally humble, that aware that I have a culture, that I come from a culture, and I think that's a challenging concept because when we are immersed in our culture, we're like the fish in the water and we don't know it's there. So first understanding that I have a culture and that I may not even be aware of my own culture, and that's the first thing I think would be helpful for faculty to consider. And then beyond that, just understanding what culture is in general, because it's too broad and too vast and too deep to really say, oh, well, this student is from this country, speaks this language, therefore this is what culture is. So I think that's impossible. But to understand that there are elements of culture at play, so things like body language. Body language means very different things in very different cultures. So eye contact in one culture can mean respect, in another culture it can mean challenge of authority. That there are power dynamics. There are some cultures that have very high distance power and others that have very low distance power dynamics. That's going to impact your student relationships and relationships between students in the classroom. There are going to be cultures that are more individualistic, cultures that are more collectivist. That's going to impact student work and group work, or how students see their relationships with other students in the class. And more than just saying, oh, well, this student comes from an individualistic culture, therefore this, just to understand that that is at play, that that's the environment that students are in a classroom, is that all of these different aspects of culture are at play, and that we don't understand necessarily what is happening, but that the behavior we're seeing is not necessarily the thing, that there are cultural elements and invisible forces at work that we need to be aware of and be humble, and also not judge what we're seeing, to place a value judgment on that, because it's just too complicated to really assume that we know exactly what's going on. So I think I hear a lot of times people talk about cultural competence, and I think that rather than culturally competent, I like the idea of cultural humility, because the more we learn, the more we know we don't know.